Okay, so my last video kicked up the hornet's nest, so to speak. There was a lot of people that were angry that I decided to point out a few little areas of concern I had for the Australian economy and Australia in general. And that brought in a lot of comments, good, bad, and everything in between. But there was one comment that really stuck out for me out of the thousands of comments I got in that video. And the comment was something along the lines that most Australians are not comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I heard that and I went, wow, that is probably hitting the nail on the head, and I was like, wow, that is actually a very insightful comment. And that's what I want to talk about today, because I'm experiencing that firsthand. And I think it is actually one of the root of the core problems that we have in Australia right now. And this is the thing. Australians over the last 3 decades got really comfortable with a certain status quo that's not sustainable long term. And the thought of that status quo not existing and there being a level of uncomfortability and uncertainty really scares a lot of Australians, to the point where they put their head in the sand and they don't want to acknowledge what's happening to them. So I launched my program a couple of weeks ago, the Escape Society Academy, which is designed to teach people digital marketing, something that I've been doing for the last 9 years and allowed us to leave Australia. And I'll be getting on a lot of these calls. And when I read between the lines on why someone is not willing to join the program, even though it's a good fit for them, we've worked out that it's a great fit. Like, fundamentally, these people want the status quo to change in their life, whether they're working too much, whether they're not spending enough time with their kids, and they can feel that their quality of life is reducing and changing, yet they don't want to get uncomfortable. They don't want to acknowledge the fact that this is happening, and they kind of want it to magically fix itself, when the more pragmatic of us out there know that this situation is not going to fix itself. The government debt in Australia is at a point of no return. Immigration is unchecked. The cost of living is not going to go down. It's not just going to fix itself. And I think that's fundamentally part of the problem with Australia right now, is that there's a lot of Australians out there that are just hoping the situation magically fixes itself. And because they're hoping it magically fixes itself, they don't accept the reality of the current situation that they find themselves in. And because they can't accept that reality, anything that challenges the current status quo is really threatening to them. Look, I absolutely get the reason for it. It takes a certain amount of reflection to realize that the situation is dire and it's not just going to fix itself. But for the situation to actually fix itself, there needs to be a critical mass of people that acknowledge that it's a problem in the first place and are willing to do something about it. And I just didn't realize it was as big a problem until I started doing these calls about my program. Of course, I've had a lot of people sign up, and there's a lot of people working through the program and affecting change in their own life. But the fundamental difference between those people and the people that don't sign up for the program that I'm finding, it's not really about the money or the time the program takes. Because when I jump on these calls, I know people, they can find the money if they need to. They can find the time if they really want it. I think what separates the people that are taking action, people like myself that have moved overseas, or people that are moving to the country in Australia, or people that are reducing their costs of living and really starting to prepare and really starting to go, hey, it's not going to fix itself. I need to prepare to position myself better, is that those people are willing to be uncomfortable. And the people that aren't are the ones I'm finding are burying their heads in the sand and just not acknowledging what's coming. And those who aren't are really the ones that are in denial about what's going to happen. But before I continue, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to the sponsor of the video, which is me. As you guys know, I launched a program about a month ago called the Escape Society Academy, which is specifically designed to help people like you and I with jobs, commitments, wife, kids, mortgage, quit your 9 to 5 and earn an income remotely. Now, this isn't a scam or MLM or anything like that. This is a program that I created, and it took me 6 solid months to do that, that basically shows the path that I went to go from where I was, which is in a job that I really disliked, to running my own digital marketing agency, which I've been doing for almost a decade now, and which has allowed us to travel full-time with our family around Southeast Asia. If you want to learn more about that program, there is a link in the description and in the comments. Go and check that out if you want to, but let's get back into the video. Because I don't think anyone can disagree that Australia's had a really good run. We've had unchecked growth over a long period of time, and there's been an incredible amount of wealth created, and the standard of living in Australia has significantly improved. But what if that changes? And I think it will. there's going to be a whole bunch of people that are forced to be uncomfortable who are just not mentally ready to do that. Because I think about this often. I think about, why do so many Australians not see what the pragmatic Australians see, which is a country that is sick, a country that has a massive housing bubble, a country that the majority of the wealth that it has relies on another country with a big red flag and a yellow star on it. And my only conclusion has to be that there are just so many Australians that are scared of being uncomfortable. They'd much rather live in hope that everything will magically fix itself than acknowledge that potentially it won't. And it's better to be prepared for that. And the best case scenario be that you've prepared for something that doesn't come to fruition. And the worst case scenario be, I've prepared for something by reducing my expenses or moving overseas or moving into the country somewhere or getting a better paying job or starting an online business, whatever that preparation plan is. It's better to have that preparation plan and not need it than be thrusted into a situation where you're forced to do it and not on your terms. And that's ultimately the long and short of it, is that while I do have a lot of hope that Australia just naturally recovers and Australia just pulls through, I'm pragmatic enough to go, I don't know if it is. I don't know if it's going to. And part of our plan was to come over here and live because we can. With our digital marketing agency and the business, we can do that. But unless more Australians are willing to be uncomfortable and be in a situation where they're sacrificing to be better prepared for what's potentially coming, I don't know if it is or not, but potentially prepared for what's coming, then nothing will ever change, and it only just creates a self-fulfilling prophecy that there's not enough Australians that really do want to affect change and make the country better. And because of that, the worst case scenario is going to happen, where we have a massive housing bubble that just magically pops one day, or China slows down and all of a sudden there's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people out of work, or that the unchecked immigration just increases cost of living to the point where no one can afford to live in Australia anymore. I'm happy to acknowledge that the chances of that happening are low, but it doesn't mean they're zero. And there's too many Australians that are just living in blissful ignorance, hoping that the best case scenario happens, but not preparing for the worst. And that's honestly very, very scary.